Okay, so yesterday I was trying to get Kimmy to come back from the cave she moved into to avoid sin, and today I'm living in that cave. It's been a weird 24 hours. I know this looks extreme, but look at it from my point of view. Sin is literally everywhere in the world, and it's in us and around us. And we just keep sinning against others, and others keep sinning against us, and suddenly Kimmy deciding to become an ascetic and leaving society to avoid sin started to make a lot of sense. I'm not sinning against anyone now, because I don't interact with anyone, or anything. And yeah, even the sackcloth helps with that. I realized that I didn't really know what went into making my old clothes. Were the workers treated fairly? Were they being exploited? Was the factory destroying the earth? So now I wear organic, fair trade material that was originally supposed to be a potato sack, and it's super itchy. Oh, it's my mom. So, life in the cave is pretty, well, not good, but that's kind of the point. I switched to my dad's old phone and downgraded my data plan, plus added about 1 million parental controls to it, so I'm pretty much completely cut off from society. But Kimmy and I are still trying to go about our lives like normal. She keeps posting on my wall. Of course, since I shut down almost all my social media, it's just that wall over there. Yeah, Kimmy and I almost never see each other around the cave, because that's again kind of the point. But we still aren't getting along great. Like this morning, my rope sandals went missing, and it's not like there's a lot of suspects to pick from. Kimmy, I can see you wearing them. Don't just run deeper into the cave. Ugh. I'm interacting with only one other person, and we still can't avoid sin, because it turns out you don't need to have much of anything to be sinful. Look at this. In the 4th century, an ascetic monk named Evagrius Ponticus came up with a list of 8 basic temptations or thoughts that would distract people from leading the spiritual life. These 8 assaultive thoughts were gluttony, greed, discouragement, sorrow, lust, anger, vainglory, and pride. Wait, why does that sound familiar? Oh, because the 6th century Pope Gregory based his list of 7 deadly sins on those thoughts. See? 7 deadly sins. You can sin by just thinking. Those are all things that pass through everyone's mind all the time, so how can we possibly escape them? Even in a cave. Well, I guess by living a simple life in a cave, we're sinning less, which is better, right? Come on. Ah, here we go. Good old Dietrich Bonhoeffer. He says, "Oh dear. Many Christians are unthinkably horrified when a real sinner is suddenly discovered among the righteous. So we remain alone with our sin, living in lies and hypocrisy. He who is alone with sins is utterly alone." That's ridiculous! He thinks I'm utterly alone just because I'm alone in a cave interacting with no one except Kimmy, who I'm constantly fighting with, just thinking about my sins and hopelessness and, oh, so broken world. Well, when you put it that way, Bonhoeffer, this whole thing seems to be backfiring. Maybe I'm not trying hard enough. I mean, if I really was serious about this, I wouldn't have a phone at all. They're bad for the earth. They're bad for the people who make them. But if I throw it away, it'll still be bad for the earth. It's like one big inescapable web of sin. Am I just trapped? Okay, one more search. Being in this cave must be good for something. Bonhoeffer also says, the more isolated a person is, the more destructive the power of sin over them. Oh, come on, Bonhoeffer, you're saying I'm making things worse? All right, I'll admit, it does feel like this isolation is making things worse, but can anyone tell me why? Let's see. We've got Susan Thistlethwaite, a minister, theologian, and author. Oh, and she's a modern one too. Nice. So Dr. Thistlethwaite says that sin is when we deny our dependence on the other, who is God, and reject our need for fellow creatures. In other words, sin is the denial of our need of a relationship with God and each other. So cutting myself off from everyone, like by moving into a cave, is a sin. I'm supposed to have relationships, but we also have bad relationships with each other, and we mess up our relationship with God. So I'm stuck in this sin either way, in here or out there. Sin is my problem, even though I don't want it to be. This whole situation is totally unfair. But if I stay in the cave, sin is still out there in the world. My being in here doesn't do anything about that. And since sin is my problem, I have to face it. I don't know how, but I have to do something to fix all this. But first, I better let Kimmy know that I'm rejoining society and that I'm sorry for being such a bad roommate. Cave mate. Whatever you call it. I'll just post it on her wall.